Hey guys, it's Logan Freeman, and this is the LiveFree Investors Podcast. I interview investors and business owners who share investment advice so you too can live free. Today, I am talking with the one, the only Matt Faircloth. Matt, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
First of all, Logan, thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I love how you and I got connected off of you promoting my book on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Just unsolicited, just hey, I love this book. So thank you for having me on your show. To your guests, my name is Matt Faircloth. My company is called the DeRosa Group, and I am lucky enough to be a full-time active real estate investor for the last 15 years. We've done all kinds of fun stuff, like a couple dozen fix and flips. We've done a lot of residential small housing deals, like single family, small multis, that kind of stuff. And we've slowly grown into larger real estate transactions as our company's grown, where now we're lucky enough to be in 4 different states, owning several multifamily properties, apartment buildings, and things like that. We also own some small stuff too. And we also have an office complex in Trenton. And I've documented most of my path in real estate investing and given back as much as I can in educating other people in 2 channels in my book, Raising Private Capital, and on my YouTube page, which people can get to by going to youtube.com/DeRosa Group, which is just education on how to real estate invest successfully.
Yes, Matt, your YouTube channel, I think, had to be one of the first educational-based kind of real estate channels. I mean, it really was. You were kind of a pioneer on YouTube doing that. And I remember, golly, when did you start? Because I remember 3-4 years ago watching videos on YouTube, and I love the way that you have utilized, social media up to this point, man.
It was a while ago, 2000, probably 13, 14. I started doing YouTube videos. I've been doing it for a long time. I started doing it religiously about probably 2016. I started doing it on a weekly, about twice a week. This is to the encouragement of somebody who's my mentor, and I can just call him my friend, and it's Joe Fairless. Who's been just religious about podcasting every day. And he was like, you need to start YouTubing on a predictable time every week, same times, and just produce regular content. And so I committed to him that I would do 2 videos a week, and I haven't missed a day since.
Wow. That is a lot, man. It's a lot
like
of work.
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you've built an incredible following. You're an author, you're a writer. I mean, you're a bigger pocket star. I just, it's just really, really cool to see that, progression. And it just goes back to a lot of things that I talk about on a regular basis. It's just consistent daily action, and just staying consistent and small victories every single day. And that consistency over 7 years, 6 years now has put you in a place to go do what you're doing now. So fantastic, man. So
funny what happens when you're committed to do something over and over and over again. And, as they say for Bruce Lee, just master the kick, meaning like I'll do the same kick 10,000 times until I master it.
That's right. Yeah. Repetition is a great skill builder. And as an offensive lineman, all we did was the same drills over and over again. So when the going gets tough, it's, you're going through adversity, you might be hurt, you're not feeling very good, you're tired, your muscles continue to remember what you're supposed to do. And that's exactly what we're doing in the business world now. So
can you imagine if your football coach said to you, okay, offensive lineman, all right, this is how you're going to do your lead block. And we'll try it 2 or 3 times, and we think you guys are good. No, they'll make you do it probably 10,000 times or whatever, just to make sure that what you're doing has to become so second nature. It has to get ingrained in you that you can do it when you don't want to. You can do it when you don't feel like it, and you can do it instinctively.
Right.
And that's what comes out of doing things repeatedly over and over and over again. And that applies to business as well.
Yeah, 100%, man. Couldn't agree more. I have some questions, Matt, that I like to ask folks, and I'd love to get your perspective on. And I'm curious, now that you've been a full-time real estate investor for 15 years, what's the best thing about being a real estate entrepreneur and a business owner?
Well, there's some pretty good days in business. There's rough days too, but there's good days. And the best thing that I could say, Logan, is that I get to own my time. And real estate investing has served me when my father was ill and when he passed away in 2009,
Yep.
10, right in that range. He passed in 2010, but he got ill in 2009. So during my father's illness and his passing, I was able to spend a lot of time with him because I was a full-time real estate investor. I was able to pick up my business and move it to where he was in Baltimore
Yep.
and spend a lot of time at his side. And I was able to be there with him when he passed. And I was with him for 2 weeks, solid, 2 weeks straight, right? Up until his passing and afterwards with my mother, who then had to clean it up and deal with it. Now, if I had a full-time day job, I would be spending a lot of my time probably on vacation or taking PTO or whatever it is. But because I'm a real full-time real estate investor, I was able to run my business from my cell phone and run a lot and just live more of an ownership of my time life. Now, I'm not saying at that point in my life I was at the level where things thrived without me being in the middle of it, but I was able to keep the machine going. I wasn't putting new properties under contract or doing closings or negotiating deals. I was just maintaining my portfolio while I was away. So the biggest thing that real estate gives you is if you want to maintain your level of income, you can without investing a ton of time. Most real estate investors like yourself, like you and me, we want to hustle and grind and grow and expand and everything like that. So if you're a successful real estate investor, the amount of money, the amount of time you spend is probably 80% on growth, 20% on maintenance. And if you really want to just pull back and maintain what you got, there's not a whole lot of time you got to put in to maintain your portfolio once you've got some systems built.
Absolutely. That's a sentiment that rings true with the successful business owners, investors that I have on is, is that lifestyle design and freedom. That's a word that comes up a lot. And I think that it just makes a lot of sense because, I built a brand around that, right? Live free investments, right? So, I think it's a common theme across the board. So,
you got one of the best names ever for real estate investing, though, being Logan Freeman. You know, you can talk about Live Free because you got, it's right. Yeah, it's right there with the name. I love it.
Yeah, the only person that has a better name was a guy named Ryan Cash, and his last name was Cash. I was like, oh man, you need to get into the real estate game, man.
Yeah, I know. You're just right there. You're named for it.
Yeah, you could just call your whole brand the Ryan Cashflow brand.
Why not? There's so many different ways you can go with it, right?
Yeah, totally. So this year has obviously been really unique. We've got a lot of civil unrest. We've got a health crisis going on. A lot of things kind of flying in and out of our radar. So keeping up with those current trends and opportunities can be a real challenge. So tell me your thoughts on how you've overcome this and how you stay up to date.
Well, the way I've overcome it, staying up to date is one thing, but overcoming things is it's so important to have a positive mental attitude. It always is.
Yep.
It always is. And you're not going to get very far unless you do. But during times like this, when we're surrounded by a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of, I'm right and you're wrong. And I don't care who you want to win for president, but but people are so out there looking to make each other's wrong. There's a lot of anger and fear in our world. And so if you decide to subscribe to that, you're going to be getting the results of it, which is loss of control, But if you choose to align yourself with positivity, finding collaborations and things like that during these times, that's when you're going to thrive.
Yep.
And so I'm a positive person to begin with. I've had to check myself in my mindset a few times during this COVID thing and with civil unrest and everything like that too. Reading all the craziness on Facebook and stuff like that. So I pretty much disconnected from those things.
Sure.
Staying up to date though, it's interesting you brought that up. So, and I think this is in line with your question, but if not, you have to correct me. It's hard to stay positive while staying connected to the world, because if you wanted to just go meditate like a hippie on the hill and think positive thoughts all the time, you could do that, but you would be disconnected from what's really happening in society. So the way that I've been able to read the news and check up on Facebook and hear what's going on and hear like, well, geez, I'm not sure if my tenants are going to be able to pay rent next month, it really goes back to my faith, and faith that this too shall pass, and that whatever you want to call it, higher power, God, deity, will take care of me. And that I'll be able to get through whatever this is. So I've had to fall back a lot on my faith during these times, is how I maintain positivity while being connected. So I'm reading somebody's nasty thing on Facebook, or reading something awful happen in the world on buildings being lit on fire or whatever. And I have to fall back on my faith or just say a prayer about it or whatever to try and keep me positive. So anyway, if you don't mind me going there, that's how I do it. And I don't know if that was your question, but
you got the Pope there, you got Jesus right there. So, I
figured I was okay bringing it up with you.
I wear it right on my sleeve, man. Yeah, absolutely. Things have been changing at the speed of light, and what I've been able to do is just simply stay in tune with what's going on in my market, with our portfolio, with the people that are the boots on the ground, and just continuing to interact with them and making decisions based off of that information, not necessarily the clickbait headlines that we see all the time.
You got to stay away from that stuff.
Yeah,
man.
it's
they're
really
doing
hard.
is trying to engage you with fear. Understand that,
100%.
Very little truth, mostly fear and anger, what's out there right now.
Well, fear sells. So, that's a part of it.
For now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for 15 years, think about when you first started, your middle of your career and where you're at now. What's the best advice that you've ever received from a mentor? You mentioned Joe Fairless. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was somebody else. But what's the best advice that you've ever received as an investor?
The best advice I've ever got from many. Yeah, this was an advice. This came from an attorney said this, and I don't think he was trying to give me advice. He just said it, and I remembered it. He said, "Real estate is forgiving, and you don't need to make all the right moves in real estate. You just need to make some of the right moves."
Yeah.
And what I got from that is, as long as you stay in the game and hold the property long enough, the market can forgive. The market can wash out. And this happened on properties that I bought pre-2008 crash, and I bought them for fix and flips, and the crash happened.
Sure.
And wasn't nobody buy nothing after that. There's no fix and flip happening. So I was able to lease it to somebody who had lost their home over here, and they leased that property from me for a long time. And then I sold it many, many years later. I sold it in 2016, right? So there are ways to be creative in real estate. In real estate, if you hold it long enough, it is very forgiving. You might have to hold it longer than you think you'd like to.
Yeah.
And it kind of operates on its own timeline, but it can be profitable if you give it the time to do so.
Yeah, I love that. That's another theme that has come through a lot of the guests that I've had on is just patience, and I always say that, real estate is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a great get rich or get wealthy, slow scheme. And it's a great vehicle for that. But when you start to make decisions based off of, trying to make just a quick buck, it's really, really easy to put yourself in a bad position. You have to be patient with that stuff. Thank you for that. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man.
So social show I have here, I love to call out other people that should be on the guests or on a guest on the show. And it's the best way because I already have somebody that's, credible and awesome on the show. And I say, hey, who do you hang out with that, should be on my show? So I'm going to ask you the same question. This is your opportunity to promote somebody that maybe should be on the show. So what other successful investors or business owners like yourself should be on the LiveFree Investors podcast?
Oh, I'm a bigger pockets guy in that. So if you haven't had, a lot of the bigger pockets talking heads, there's guys that I really look up to for what they've built. I mean, Brandon Turner is just living the life that many dream of in that. I mean, he's just a literally gigantic teddy bear. He's 6'8" or something like that. He's very tall. But he's a very very good human being, and I think he would be a great guest if you haven't had him already. Obviously, David Green, who is like the cop, the bad cop on that show.
Yeah,
and all that. That's literally a cop, but also a great guy. So I would have the two of them. If you haven't had Jay Scott yet, he's like the real estate mad scientist, and if you can catch him, because he's kind of living the victory lap retirement, take a pause in life for a little bit, but that'd be Josh Dworkin, who I think would be a great guest to talk about building a business, maybe outside of real estate, but about how to build a thing and then, position it for sale. And then
Absolutely.
he's a good conversationalist too. So,
Fantastic.
and also a good-hearted person.
Well, through our relationship, Matt, I'll rely on you at some point to make some introduction to some of those big name guys, because I'd love to have them on. Obviously,
I would
I'm
be
sure they
honored
would
to
be.
do that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure they'd be great guests. So, I didn't prep you for this question, but it is my brand, and it's all about, I've got into real estate and building a business to be able to live free. And so, a question I love to ask folks, and you could take it wherever you go, but do you have a tip, a routine, a trick that helps you live free on a regular basis?
Something helps me live free on a regular basis. Okay. I am very planful of what I'm going to do in a
Okay.
day. And so I'll show you. This is my go call do list right here. This
Nice.
is my those are the meetings I have to go to. And this is a meeting, right? Like a call or a face-to-face thing I have to do somewhere at the physical time that I have to be somewhere with somebody. That's my go. That either face-to-face meeting or I have to talk to Logan Freeman at 3 p.m. Right? Call are just people that I got to check in with that guy. I got to call my I got to check in with a few investors and stuff like that today. So I just wrote investor calls.
Yep.
So those are just calls you can do in between things. Like, okay, I got the thing at Logan at 3 p.m. I'll talk to him at 3, and then I'll make those phone calls at 3:30. Right? Calls you can kind of drop in whenever.
Sure.
Then the do list are actions I got to take to advance my long-term goals. So that might be here. I've got to make some introductions. I've got to book a few appointments. And now I put on my do list that I have to introduce Logan to a few mutual friends of ours that I want to get you connected with, right?
Yeah.
And that. So this go call do list allows me to stay focused. And I know I've had a productive day if I can cross all my go call do's off. And also I know my day's done and I can live life a little more free if that's 100% finished.
I love it.
Second tool I have, if I can double up, is I've learned this model through a coaching program called the Strategic Coach.
Yep.
And Strategic Coach talks about having free days. And if you really want to have a free life, you got to have the courage to have a day that the phone and the email and the business gets put down.
Sure.
And you're 100%, 24 hours in whatever that is. Fun time with my kids, taking my son fishing, hanging out with my wife, taking her out for dates, working in my yard, working on hobbies, not thinking about or operating in the business. And some people talk about hustle and grind and entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And that's all well and good. But it's also good to take that time to recharge. And if you want to live a free life, you got to have days where you do not even think of it. You don't answer the phone. You don't answer emails. It is off the grid.
Yep.
And that's a good recharge day. So
I love that. Those are two awesome tips. The go call do is a, abbreviated, I would say, process of what I have created, or I do on a regular basis. I utilize the Brendan Burchard's high performance planner, and there's a little bit more, mindset into that, but it also has my kind of go call do on there. So I'm so glad to see that. And free days, I try to keep Sundays for, weekly, free days for myself, but obviously to give it to the Lord and to my family. So that's my free day. But I would love just at some point just to say, hey, that day right there on the calendar, we're going to have a free day, just all of the family together. That would be awesome. So thank you.
For more of those. I've been doing more like a little bit with my son this summer. I've been taking a few more free days here and there and everything like that. And as your kids get older, it's important to block out those free days more frequently. I mean, to the point where people like you and I can live life to the point where you've got, 4 to 5 days of 3 days a week, and you probably function. And the Strategic Coach program, their model is to try and get you to the point where you can accomplish what you need to accomplish.
Yep.
But typically took you 5 to 6 days to get it done in 2 or 3, to where you can have those extra 4 days as free days. And really live life on your own terms, do whatever you want to do. I am not there yet. It's okay. I'm still hustling and grinding like the rest of us, but it's good to give you a little taste of what life can feel like if you take more time for yourself.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true investor and business owner. Hey, Matt, I'm curious if people want to reach out to you. This will go live here very soon. Where can folks reach out to you and start to follow you. I know you mentioned your YouTube channel, but let's get that mentioned again. We'll link to it, obviously, in the post. But where can people follow you at?
Well, everything pushes through my website at derosagroup.com, and that's for folks that want to learn from us, or for accredited investors that want to invest with us. All that is at derosagroup.com. That is DEROSAGROUP.com, derosagroup.com, and they can buy my book there. They can check out my YouTube channel. They can check out my wife's podcast called The Real Estate Invest Her Show, showing the investing journey of women, which is awesome. And yeah, and they can learn more about what investments we have to offer too for passive accredited investors.
Fantastic. We will definitely point people to that. I also created a book summary of Raising Private Capital, but I want you to go, buy the actual book. And then after you show me that you've bought the book, we can have a conversation about your top points on it. So I will tease a few points that I loved on the book, but I'm not just going to send you the PDF that I created, because I want you to go support Matt and the DeRosa Group and read that fantastic book. Matt, where'd the name come from?
Raising Private Capital or DeRosa?
No, just DeRosa.
It's my wife's mother's maiden name.
I love it.
We thought we'd do a nice family homage shout out.
Okay.
I try and weave in some family heritage in my company. I've got an apartment complex that I named after my dad after he passed. And I mean, again, I would have bought the deal anyway, but it needed a new name. So why not slip a little family shout out in there,
What is the name?
So, it's called Douglas Square. My dad was born in Fayetteville, so the property is in Fayetteville,
cool.
North Carolina. So my dad's middle name was Douglas. His father's middle name was Douglas. My middle name is Douglas, and my son's middle name is Douglas. So 4 generations to have that middle name, and so I named the property Douglas Square.
Very cool, man. Thank you for sharing that. All right, guys, this is Logan Freeman with the Live Free Investors Podcast, where investors and business owners share investment advice so you too can live free. For more insights and ideas on how you can live free today, connect with me on LinkedIn and Matt at the DeRosaGroup.com. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
It has been an honor to be here, Logan. Thank you.
And until next time, guys, live free.